You'll have to forgive me. I fought to the end, but the noise of information won out. The internet is sometimes interested in strange things. What is the news about Banana Clicker, which overtook online Counter-Strike and Dota 2? Hamsters? A ton of some other incomprehensible gameplayless games in which you have to jerk your finger on the screen. In virtual reality is still a much more adequate society, but expectations and reality in the end diverge. Everyone cries. Well, there are no games like Half-Life Alyx. We want games with hyper-realistic graphics. Now look closely at the numbers. Lone Echo, a VR game with cool graphics for the Oculus Rift, has only gotten about 4,500 ratings in 7 years. The biggest project in the last year, Asgard's Wrath 2, will also somewhere around 4,000 ratings. Hubris, which is boring but beautiful. In Quest and Steam, 500 reviews each. But that's not what mankind needed. Turns out, all he needed was a cool cat simulator. A game in which you can scratch couches, annoy your poor grandmother, and throw fish out of a fish tank. I Am Cat was released in early access just a month ago and has already gained more than 11,000 ratings. Only licensed versions are taken into account here, of course. Another game with animal transformation is Gorilla Tag. Every day it is played by 1 million players who like to transform into gorillas. So, does it look like a game with realistic graphics and a cool story? Well, let's see if it's hard to be a furry asshole in this life, why Cat Simulator became so popular, and why other similar VR games didn't take off. The game is developed by New Folder Games Studio. From the previously plus-minus known projects, you might have known about Titan's Clinic. This game even made it to our list of the most cringeworthy VR games. In it, you have to treat teeth and give manicures to giants. The game is developed by New Folder Games Studio. From the previously plus-minus known projects, you might have known about Titan's Clinic. This game even made it to our list of the most cringeworthy VR games. In it, you have to treat teeth and give manicures to giants. The activity was enjoyed by more than 2,500 players. Fruit Salon VR was released a little bit earlier than the Kodo Simulator. It is also about the doctor, but you need to treat not titans, but fruits. There is a project King of Magic, but it did not take off. Being a king, you assign magic sentences to your subjects. Strangely, not many people know about the studio's attempt to make Only Up in virtual reality. It's also free. In general, as we can say, the authors have a whole fruit warehouse of fantasy, and I Am Cat did not fall out of nowhere. The studio has worked hard before. Can I please have a taste of your sources of inspiration? I Am Cat is currently in early access at a price of $15 and only on Quest. In December, Apple Vision Pro owners will be able to become cats. And sometime in the future, the game will be released on Steam. I had a literal kitten-like delight when I first got into this game. What's the story? You're a ginger cat who lives with your owner, your grandmother. One day, your smartwatch receives a notification from the neighbor's cat. He offers to prove your prowess as the new cat in the neighborhood. To do this, he sends a series of tasks with the usual cat stuff. You have to play with toy mice, return fish to the aquarium, throw things from the shelves, scratch something from the furniture, and other important tasks. But things wouldn't be nearly as interesting if the leather bag didn't get involved. Every time you want to get messy, an evil granny with a frying pan appears and starts chasing you. Almost like the nutcase from Outlast. The game starts with a small tutorial where we are shown that we can move, jump, pick up objects in our paws and teeth. The movement mechanism is similar to Gorilla Tag. That is, it's like we're pushing off the ground with 2 paws. Where the cat got a smartwatch from is a good question. It's immediately bombarded with tasks from the neighbor's cat. We can ignore it all and go about our business. Grandma's actually quite normal. She calmly walks around the room, smiles, watches TV, and does granny things. But when the kitty makes a mess, the granny's hood comes off and a frying pan comes into play. From Grandma, you can scamper around the house. Good place to dodge there is. If you do it long enough, she will give up and go back to her business. Or you can knock her out with an overhead attack. If the grandma does catch you, the mission's progress will not reset and you will continue where you left off. To reset the location, all you have to do is go to sleep. While Fluffy sleeps, Granny puts everything in its place as if there was no chaos at all. Besides destroying furniture, there is plenty to do in the room. On the main floor, there are 2 mini games of catching mice and hamsters. In the kitchen, the cat can cook meat and vegetables, bake a homemade robot in the microwave, or admire Grandma's knife set. In the corner, you will find an interactive computer with an extremely interesting folder. And the cat can also become a basketball player. The second floor is a little empty, but you can play the piano. God, it's so hard to play with your paws. The game can be fully completed in 30 minutes, but that's if you go stupidly through the tasks. And I doubt you won't be distracted by other activities. For early access, the missions are basically enough. In the future, the authors promise to add more content, new locations, storylines, more complex missions, and even new characters. Here about the characters is interesting. With a grandmother, of course, to live high, but not interesting. I hope that there will be more severe guys with increased movement speed or laser cannon. New Folder games were not the first to put a human in the virtual body of a cat. The very first game was Catify, which came out in the bearded days before Oculus Quest 1 even existed. When I worked at the VR Club, many kids loved to play this game. It looks more realistic than I Am Cat now, but here's the problem. There's nothing to do, zero gameplay. The authors could add some quests and hype it up, but they left to make Headshot VR, and that's it. Of course it's worth mentioning the Flat Stray. You can only play as a cat in virtual reality if you have a computer. And the Prey Dog injector is set up, which allows you to run flat games in VR. You're sort of anchored behind the cat and see everything from a third-person perspective. Overall, it's an interesting experience, but I don't think it's worth it. By the way, there is also cat lateral damage. In general, it's a flat game where the cat has to throw as many things on the floor as possible. For the flat version, they released VR support. The problem was not even in the cartoon style, but in the fact that the player can move only by teleportation, which greatly spoils immersion. All gameplay is reduced to dropping items on the floor. There are no other twists or interactions. So I Am Cat has occupied this promising niche, making a decent variety of gameplay, with authentic controls and all sorts of chips. There is an incentive to go in and continue. There are tasks, triggers for bad behavior. The world is interactive and responsive. Although personally, I was enough for half an hour, then I got bored of bursting balls and breaking dishes. I liked the graphics. Though simplified cartoon, but all in a nice color scheme and smoothly. No FPS sags. I went to Taskmaster recently. It's a game based on a British TV show. It's got kind of simplistic, cartoonish Graphion too, but it's so obnoxious looking. Objects a meter away from you are scattered into pixels, but gameplay-wise, it's cool. If you're interested in more meaningful games, then I Am Not the Cat. Check out Blade and Sorcery, Half-Life, Alex, Lone Echo, and other classics of VR games. We talk about such projects on this channel all the time. Here is such a short review. There's nothing more to tell about I Am Cat, and I don't want to stretch the timing on purpose. You can say that it became a phenomenon, since it attracts so much attention. What other simulators are missing in the world of virtual reality? Write in the comments. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and put a like. See you in the future.